There are two choices. The first one is to upgrade to a full system. It has a WIU interface unit, an accessories interface unit, and a track interface unit. And you can also get a remote for it. The second choice is what MTH calls their DCS Explorer. It's an all-in-one unit. It generates, working with the TIU, it generates a Wi-Fi signal, so you don't need internet connection in your house. It's about $150 generally. It's meant to be a starting unit for people. As you can see, you can use WPS, which means which can work with mics, or it can work with your home internet if you want, and it's got a separate power in. There's a 6 amp max, and there's a USB and a 5 amp fuse. I've heard quite a few users blowing their 5 amp fuses fairly often, so they often get more fuses. On the other side, there's where the common and the power that you connect to your track. I talked about it before, the 6 amp max. To give you, for instance, the Z4000 transformer that I use has two 10 amp units, 10 amp handles, and two terminals for 3 amp. In my case, I also use the Wi-Fi interface unit, which costs about $170. You can get the optional remote for $170 and the accessories AIU for $120. So it's a big investment, $690. The alternative also is the DCS Explorer. It's an all-in-one unit, as you can see, TIU and Wi-Fi built in the same. It's $150. Looking at the full function system, you can do much higher amp draws versus the DCS Explorer. You can do lash ups, which means running multiple engines together in the same direction, same speed. You don't have to worry about the problem of one engine being forward and one in reverse and working against each other. You can run Lionel TMCC engines and legacy engines, and you can use Lionel remote to run the engines. That involves spending a little more money to get the Lionel interfaces. You can run with the full system accessories and switch tracks using the $120 AIU interface unit. You can run variable voltage tracks for conventional Proto Sound 1 engines and post-war Lionel engines. With the full system, you can use the push-button remote, $170, or you can use any Android phone or tablet or an iPhone, and you can do battery checks, record and playback through your engine speakers, any sound bites that you might want to create yourself, and the full system will list the hours of runtime tracked on your engine or engines that you've recently bought. The DCS Explorer, $150, you can only run 3 engines at one time, and you're limited to 6 amp total draw. You can't do lash ups, and you can't run TMC engines or legacy engines. You can't use Lionel remotes. You can't run accessories or switch tracks. So it's meant to be a starter system for people that are not sure or maybe just introduced to DCS. The DCS Explorer is often included in train sets that MTH sells as an introduction to the DCS system. Quite a bit of difference in money. Meant for beginners or really small layouts. Some of the notes, both the full system and the Explorer system need separate transformers and power supplies. In my case, I use a Z4000 transformer, 400 watts. The full system DS remote has an LED screen from around the year 2000. It's hard to read. It's not in color. It's out of stock almost everywhere. And it sounds like MTH is only going to make it available for another 6 months. Both systems can use the MTH software with an Android phone or an iPhone or an Android tablet. Windows tablets or Windows phones can't be used to run the MTH DCS system. Both systems can use your home internet, or you can use the MTH signal that's generated between the TIU and the Wi-Fi unit. You don't need internet connections, as we said before. The DCS Explorer is meant to be an introduction to the MTH DCS system. It's often included in layouts by MTH. This is the Z4000 that I use. 400 watts, 2 side handles, and 2 middle terminals. The side handles are 10 amps each, and the middle terminals are 10 volt and 14 volt, 3 amps each of those. The middle terminals are meant for accessories, generally. It's $500. It's one of the most powerful transformers you can get. So the MTH full system, this screen gives you a good summary, but from MTH, where it also shows you on the bottom the legacy command-based system that you'd need to run Lionels that can plug into this whole full system. You can't use that Lionel command-based system with the Explorer. So you could see all that's involved. This is my TU. You could see in this case, the inputs are on the top from the transformer, and then on the bottom, the outputs go out to distribution points. I found that the DCS system wouldn't find my engines until I added a separate power supply on the bottom left here. Power input draws regular power from the Z4000 transformer. So after I did that, it found the engines much quicker. This is what the remote, the $170 MTH remote looks like. A lot of push buttons. Probably be available for another 6 months. They don't intend on issuing it long term. Some people like the buttons. I'm getting more and more to like the phone app. This remote was from 2000. This is what the screen looks like. It's not color. It's technology that's 18 years old. I tend to like the phone operation. The phone Android app can be used with both the full version and the Explorer version. The screen looks like the entry screen is bell and whistle, speed you can control plus and minus. You can go to different tracks, pick different engines. The accessory unit is connected to the TIU with the phone-like wires, and this is the connections. The accessory unit can be used to run switch tracks and accessory tracks on the front. You could see them. It uses 18 and 24 gauge wire, which is the smallest wire. I've not often used that, but it's okay with switch tracks. Just prefer not to use such small wire, but the openings on it are really, really tiny. It's got connections for switch tracks on the left side, and then it's got connections for accessories on the right side, and you can daisy chain up to 5 of these units together. It gets power from the TIU. It doesn't have its own power supply. There's a book, 3rd edition by Barry Broskowitz. Tells you a lot of things what you want to know DCS. I myself had the second version. They're both available on Amazon for around $35. Well worth it if you're going to spend any time with DCS. To make DCS successful, there's a few things that I found were worth doing. One is you want to do star wiring. Wires come from the TIU and go to its central distribution point, and then it goes out to the track, and every 5 feet I have power wires going from the center track out 5 feet, connect to a second, and then every 10 feet I go back and run a wire to the central distribution point so you have strong signal. These are the distribution points. This one's $25 from MTH. There's a simpler one on Amazon for around $13, so you have a choice of 2 things. The other thing I did is use my test track. When I have new engines and I want to add to the system, I put them there first, and the signal always seems to find them, where when I use it on my layout, 7 out of 10 times it finds the engines, 3 times it doesn't find it right away. So I think it's useful to do that. The other thing you want is, I use Atlas Track, and those clips on the Atlas tracks have to be tight. I let the engines run around, and wherever there were dead spots, it tended to be these clips were loose. The clips is what passed the power and the signals to the next track. DCS seems to be able to run pretty large layout. This is my layout. You can see there's quite a bit of track to give you a feel. I have parking tracks, passenger engines. The board is 27 feet by 17 feet, so it's fairly large. And right now I have a signal 10 out of 10. The 3 places I like to buy is Trainboard in New York, Charles Row outside of Boston, and also Just Trains in Delaware. I would suggest when you're interested in buying this type of stuff, you look at that. The thing you will need is a bag of money, because as you see, these things can get very, very expensive. But it's a hobby that is becoming more and more expensive, although it's nice to be able to buy some engines and cars on the used market and eBay. But there, you need that bag of money to get things done. Thanks for watching.